Thursday, December 8th from 11 to 3. Tickets were available for West Orange residents at a price of $32 and should have already been purchased. But if anyone is still interested and gets this information before Thursday, please reach out to our Senior Services Department, and that would be Laura Van Dyke or Noelia.
Chris.
Thank you, Perez.
Mhm.
Thank you. That's all I have, Madam
Perfect.
President.
Nice segue, because the West Orange Arts Council is hosting a senior citizen field trip on December 16th from 11:30 to 2 o'clock. Visit the gift shop. More information, we're coordinating with Laura Van Dyke, so more information will come from Laura on all the details and transportation available. Planning Board will meet tomorrow, Wednesday, December 7th at 7:30, and that's also on Zoom, virtual meeting. The link can be found on westorange.org. And please visit westorange.org to see the amazing work and exhibits at the Arts Center, 551 Valley Road.
Council President, if
Yes,
I may,
sir.
I just wanted to thank our Chief of Police and Deputy Chief Mike Keeger and the Community Service Division in general for their outstanding work at a community meeting 2 weeks ago. They have been gone above and beyond the call of duty and responded both quickly and effectively, and have also made sure that the residents were included. So I just wanted to say that because they don't always get enough attention, and they certainly do go above and beyond for our residents. So thank you to the Deputy Chief and the Chief, and thank you, Council President.
Thank you. And I saw just before tonight's meeting, an email did come in from the Mental Health Association to the Police Department. Usually those recommendations are outstanding. I didn't have time to read it because I was on my way here, and I'm just going to imagine it's still an excellent recommendation.
Well, our program continues to be modeled after around the state, and folks call us all the time for pointers on how to better integrate mental health services into their police department.
Excellent. Okay.
This is to inform the general public that this meeting is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. The annual notice was emailed to the Star Ledger and filed in the Township Clerk's office on November 24th, 2021, and published in the West Orange Chronicle on December 2nd, 2021. Councilwoman Castellino?
Present.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Present.
Councilman Rutherford?
Here,
Councilwoman Williams?
Present.
Council President McCartney?
Present.
Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? The council is now in their public meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're going to start with public comment, and I see our Public Information Officer at the ready.
Thank you, Council President. My name is Joe Fagan, Public Information Officer. I have my contact information up on the screen, and I'll display that at the end of my report. I'd like to begin, as usual, with a quick public service announcement. We are entering the holiday season and the heating season, so there are some recommendations from the West Orange Fire Department about how to stay safe. And the biggest takeaway is just always let common sense prevail. Never plug a space heater into an extension cord. Don't use frayed extension cords. And keep anything that burn at least 3 feet from heat sources. This is just a reminder. Everyone is likely aware of it, but sometimes we can be distracted by the holidays, and we shouldn't overlook common sense at this point. Huge announcement this Saturday, December 10th, a hometown champion celebration right here on the front steps of Town Hall. Very unique situation. Football, boys soccer, girls soccer, cross country, marching band, cheerleading, all have won respective championships, and they will be honored here at 5:30 this Saturday. Rain date is Sunday, December 11th. There's several announcements. There's a lot of announcements, I should say, here with the holidays in December. So I'm going to try to do them in date order. Sunday, that's this Sunday, December 11th. This was postponed from an earlier November date. Santa Claus will be visiting all the schools. The times are approximate, beginning at Redwood School, ending at Washington School. And this can be found on our website, the times at westorange.org. And you can see there's 3 scenes on the bottom from December 3rd, tree lighting, and Santa Claus was very popular there and typically is very popular this time of month. On December 13th at the Renner Center at 10 Gaston Street, there's going to be a safety seminar. And I've attended these before, and they are full of great information. West Orange Police and West Orange Fire Department will be there. There will be a speaker. You can find out more information about Take Me Home and Operation Blue Angel and the Lockbox Initiative. You don't necessarily have to be a senior citizen to attend. These are, it's great to attend if you're trying to do some planning for some senior citizens, and you can contact Laura Van Dyke or Noelia Perez at 325-4105, of course, area code 973, and that's at 10 Gaston Street. And you have to call to register. There's also, as Council President mentioned earlier, the West Orange Art Council is going to be having a, in conjunction with the Department of Senior Services on December 16th from 12 to 2, 551 Valley Road. It's a beautiful mural on the side of the building, very easy to find. And again, you can contact Laura Van Dyke or Noelia Perez at 325-4105. There's a holiday celebration at Washington Elementary School on December 17th. This is sponsored by the Township of West Orange, partnered with the West Orange Hispanic Foundation, RWJ Barnabas, and West Orange Public Schools World Languages and English as a Second Language Department. Also, from now up until December 18th, you can drop a letter off, or children can drop a letter off at the Recreation Department. There's a mailbox there with regular deliveries to the North Pole, so a child can drop letter off there. Please include the child's name, complete address. And Santa has been around a very long time, and his eyesight is failing, so you please print clearly so Santa can read the letters. Of course, we have a menorah lighting coming up on December 20th, the annual menorah lighting right here in front of Town Hall. Also, the Department of Senior Services, there's going to be an 8-week pickleball open play. It's going to be happening at the Community House Gymnasium. It starts in January 10th and goes through March 2nd. I like the March 2nd part better. That's springtime already. But it's 8 weeks. It's going to be on Tuesdays and Thursdays. There is a cost involved with this, but it's discounted to West Orange residents. And you can call Laura Van Dyke or Noelia Perez. I think I've mentioned their names several times tonight at 973-325-4105. And the word on the street is Laura Van Dyke is quite the pickleball player. I don't know if she's going to participating or not. Speaking of senior citizens, Madam Clerk has put this book out here. It's the Seniors Blue Book, Fall Winter Edition 2022. If you're not at the meeting, these are available outside her office here in Town Hall. This is an excellent, excellent guide for Essex, Hudson, and Union counties. It's full of phone numbers and resources for senior citizens. Just a few pictures briefly here from the holiday open house and tree lighting. I was not able to attend due to a death in the family. I've got these pictures, I sourced them off of Facebook. As you can see, Santa Claus was very popular, as I mentioned earlier. And there's some pictures here from the this looks like this is Washington Street School Breakfast with Santa, the trolley tours. There were other members of the council, including the mayor, who also did the trolley tours. Unfortunately, as I say, I was not there. I do not have any pictures of that. And this is part of the crowd and the festivities that was at Washington Street School during that time. And as was mentioned, it was very successful. Once again, this is my contact information. If you have any questions about anything you saw here tonight, please feel free to give me a call or send me an email. And all the information mentioned here can be found at westorange.org. Thank you, Council President. That concludes my report this evening. I'm probably over time, but thank you very much for your indulgence.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Any comments here? Public comment? Yeah. It was a little cold Sunday at the zoo, though, and I don't know. We have to work on that.
Got to work on it, yeah. We got to order some better weather. Hi, Anthony Puglisi, representing County Executive Joe DiVincenzo. Just a couple events that are still ongoing. One, obviously, Holiday Lights continues through December 31st, and beginning December 9th, it goes every day of the week. So this weekend starting this weekend, it's every night until December 31st, except for December 24th and December 25th. The hours are 5 to 9 p.m. Admission is free, but we do ask residents to bring non-perishable food items, winter coats, or new toys, and these are all donated to area organizations, the Community Food Bank, to help families in need during the holidays. And then at Kipps Castle in Montclair, we have the Holiday at Kipps, which is every Thursday to Sunday. Again, it's free admission. And the first floor of Kipps Castle is decorated circa 1920s. So if you have a free moment, you can walk in, enjoy the decorations. And I just wish everyone a happy holidays, and I guess I'll see you on December 20th.
Thank you.
One thing, December
Yes.
20th. That's our second holiday food distribution. Obviously, we had one before Thanksgiving. This one is our winter holiday food distribution. So that's December 20th. It starts at 9 a.m. It is at Cody Arena. It's available while supplies last. We ask residents can either drive up or walk up, and we'll have a box of food and a holiday turkey for them. And all of this is on the county website, which is EssexCountyNJ.org.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anthony.
Thank you.
Any other comments here? Public comment? Yes. Mm-hmm. Should be over by now.
Rosary Morelli, Ralph Road. And I have to mention Joe Fagan's name because he's very depressed over the fact that people never mention his name. So Joe Fagan, PR guy, is doing an outstanding job.
Here, you go.
Is that good, Joe?
Thank you, Rose.
Okay. You better take good photographs of me.
Even though he
anyhow.
blasts it all over. Even though he blasts it all over.
Okay, I wasn't really planning to speak tonight, but there are rumors, and I haven't really been looking at the meetings, watching the meetings, and I'm hearing that the public portion of our meetings is when this is going to be cut, or it's being proposed to be cut. And my feeling is, and my opinion is, it's the only time that a citizen can the citizens can exercise their rights. Limiting the length of time must be reasonable and possible. It took years for us to get this televised. Everybody can see it, hear it, whatever. And now we're going to be limited, we're restricted. And that's not the way a democracy runs. And then I looked up, I don't believe we're totalitarian. We are, we might have a democracy, a system of government by the whole population or all the eligible members of a state, typically through elected representatives. Okay, so that's us. I, bottom line, feel that it would be suppressing our opinions, wouldn't give us the right to exercise our rights under a democracy if you start limiting and complaining the meetings go too long. When you ran for this job, you were taking on all of these responsibilities, spending your time and your energy. If it's too much, quit. We don't need you.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
For someone that was not going to speak, you made your point.
Well, you know me. I go on.
Any other comments? Joe, anyone online?
Yes, Council President, we have several members in the Zoom audience. Any member of the public in the Zoom audience who cares to address the town council can do so now by using the raise your hand function at the bottom of your computer screen. If you don't see it or not familiar with it, just move your mouse cursor along the bottom of the screen and it will become available. Once your hand is raised, you will be in the queue and I will call upon you by the name you entered the Zoom meeting with. I apologize beforehand if I mispronounce your name. First up, we have Zasha Kademi. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, hi, good evening. Thank you. My name is Zasa Academy and my address is 4 Dawes Avenue. And I am grateful for the opportunity to talk to everybody and to talk to at the town council. I appreciate it, but I also want to say it has become standard, and I want to piggyback on what Rosario was saying. If it wasn't for Zoom, I could not be included in these meetings because many nights I will work right up until 7, and I would not make it to the part where I could actually talk to y'all and be heard by y'all. And I would feel that would somehow cut me out of community engagement. Also, there's another major point. There's people out there like myself who, in these kind of periods where we're having a triple-demic, quote unquote, and we're having a spike in contagion, there's people out there like myself who are immunocompromised, would not maybe feel safe to come inside with a lot of people who are unmasked. And right now would be one of those times. There are also other people out there who've gotten used to being on Zoom that are disabled or elderly and they're not mobile to come to town council, and they would be cut out of this. And I feel it would be really, really unfair if we went backwards instead of keeping with the now almost 3 years standard. And it would not be, it would give the appearance of the town council or the town lacking transparency and wanting to limit engagement of its residents. And if anybody's going to say that we can't afford this, please think again, because, I say with all due respect, we've thrown a lot of money out there to wealthy developers and tax abatements, and we can't say that like the cost of Zoom is going to be too expensive for town council or zoning commission or any of the other committees. So thank you for hearing me out, and that's me. So have a good night, and I will continue to listen, and I'm grateful for that.
Thank you.
Next, we have MKA. Welcome to the meeting. Please state your name and address for the record.
Name is MK Adams, Park Drive South. I want to say thank you to Zaza because I'm going to continue and voice my strong support to continue virtual access to town council meetings. Virtual access has been invaluable to me, and I've attended almost every town council meeting since Zoom was implemented during lockdown. I've learned a great deal about how West Orange functions and have been able to participate in meetings, ask questions, and express my concerns. Virtual meetings have also allowed me to attend Planning Board and Zoning Board of Adjustment meetings, and for that, I am very appreciative. My work schedule is non-standard, always fluctuates. I actually have a job at 8 o'clock online. I'm unable to attend town council meetings in person. Many of my neighbors have young children, are caregivers to elderly dependents, have health or mobility issues, and schedule conflicts. All of us would be denied the opportunity to participate in our local government if virtual access was discontinued. This is our chance to be heard and to be on the record. Discontinuing virtual access would be a disservice to the council and to West Orange residents. To quote Thomas Jefferson, a well-informed electorate is a prerequisite for democracy. And since I am participating this evening, I would like to nudge Public Works that the neighborhoods down the hill near Eagle Rock, behind Our Lady of Lourdes, and around Colgate Park are in dire need of leaf pickup. Since collection started, our streets have not yet been cleared. My neighborhood is on a very steep hill and relies on street parking. I've spoken about that in previous meetings. A few of my neighbors have gratefully raked clear the runoff drains at the bottom of the hill several times. Landscapers have left large piles of leaves in multiple parking spots. One large swath of leaves on Park Terrace has now been pushed onto the sidewalk because there's so many of them in the street and it's just now overflowed. These leaves have become a hazard, so come on over and pick them up, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Adams.
Kevin Malanga, welcome to the meeting. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sally Malanga, 57 Ridge Road. Good evening. On behalf of our Green West Orange members, I am requesting that Zoom access be made permanent for all town council meetings, zoning and planning boards, and all commissions. The technology exists. People rely on it now. It's easier to see presentations on the screen. It's easier for the elderly, the handicapped, the ill to participate. It's easier if there's inclement weather. It's more convenient than having to leave home to attend routine meetings. The public will be harmed if the township eliminates Zoom access. I understand that the zoning board has already unilaterally announced that it will discontinue Zoom access. This must be reversed. We have the Daughters of Israel project coming up. We have Mayfair Farms coming up. And at the planning board, we have the subdivision of the Mount Pleasant Forest. All residents must have access to these meetings. So Zoom exists now. We've been using it. We're asking for it to be made permanent. And I thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joyce Rudin, welcome to the meeting. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, good evening, Council. Joyce Rudin, 38 Woodland Avenue. I just want to echo what others have said ahead of me. Zoomocracy has showed us one thing. As nice as a traditional town hall and board meetings are, there's a clear benefit to being able to participate from home. It's increased citizen participation, and everyone on this council has acknowledged that in prior meetings. Now, with the pandemic morphing into an endemic, the hybrid option opens up options for those who can attend in person and those who, for whatever reason, prefer to tune in and participate online. There are also practical applications for hybrid meetings. Meetings can't be canceled due to bad weather. And if one of you is sick or in COVID isolation, you can also tune in and the meeting can still continue. Public participation is not just watching live Facebook streams. It means a two-way interaction with the public so that the public can ask questions and receive answers in real time and see the inner workings of our government. There's a good reason to permanently embrace hybrid municipal meetings. We saw a spike in citizen participation when most local government went fully Zoom in 2020. It's basically good for democracy. On the flip side, as in-person meetings have resumed, we've also been reminded of the value of gathering face-to-face. Making those two options is the future. It's worth the public investment of time and money. Thank you for hearing my remarks this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Phil Litwinoff, welcome to the meeting, and please state your name and address for the record. And I apologize if I mispronounced your name.
No, you did great. And thank you for listening to me. My name is Philip Litwinoff. I live at 11 Linden Avenue here in West
Really
Orange.
difficult to understand. I'm sorry.
Can you repeat that, please?
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Again, the name is Phil Litwinoff. The address is 11 Linden Avenue in West Orange. I've been a resident of West Orange since 1977. My comment to you echoes what's been said before, is that long before there was COVID, most of the townships in New Jersey had cable access that they permitted residents to view what's going on in the township meetings. West Orange did not participate in that. However, COVID has changed the dynamics, and with the benefit of Zoom, it's become a benefit that really should be afforded to every citizen of this township. So without further comment on it, my statement to you is that I really believe the Zoom meetings should continue to give all residents of this township access to their elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Litwinoff.
Thank you.
Claudia Sanders, welcome to the meeting. Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. Claudia Sanders, 27 Old Salem Road. I'll just echo
I'm
what
sorry,
some other
can you
folks
repeat
have-
your address, please?
Oh, sure. 27 Old Salem Road.
Thank you.
Old Salem.
I'd like to just echo what other folks have said, but with a little bit of a twist or a little addition. People with hearing disabilities, it's virtually impossible to hear in person.
I'm
And
sorry, we
having-
can't hear you. Can you please speak up a little?
Sure. I was saying that people with hearing challenges have a very difficult time in person, and having the Zoom meetings gives them access in a way that's not available otherwise. So I would really like to see the virtual meetings continue for that reason, and the other reasons other folks have stated, but it does give access to people with hearing loss. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other member of the public wishing to address the town council at this time, please raise your hand. Council President, I am seeing none. That would conclude our public comment for this evening.
Thank you. Good night, Noelia. Okay. Close public comment. This, as you know, the Zoom conversation is on for pending matters. Right, I think?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Do you want to comment now or wait, make everyone wait? Yeah, we can wait. Okay. Here we go. Pretty much those were all the comments.
So, consent agenda then?
Okay.
There was one comment I could comment on Park Drive South.
Please,
And
thank you.
Sure, because I know.
Councilwoman Castellano, thank you.
You know, I live in that area, not far from that area, and I had leaves that are outside of my house as well. So there's been parking. I know I've inquired about this, Ms. Adams. There's been, maybe not your particular street, but on other streets, there's been folks not abiding the parking regulations. So that has also added to this issue that when they're not supposed to be on the street to park, so they can come clean the leaves, folks aren't moving their cars. So I know on certain street that has caused a big problem, and it's been quite the mess. So there is a schedule. I know we did not put out our leaves. My husband wanted to get them out last weekend, and they weren't coming for 2 weeks, so we waited. So between looking at some folks not looking at the schedule and not moving their cars, it's been problematic. How they're going to work that out, I don't know. That's Mr. Gross's domain, but I know I've heard of that in my neighborhood, and so I know they're looking into it. I saw them out there on Kirk Street yesterday. I know today it rained, so I don't know if you could add to that, Mr. Gross, at all. what
Thank you,
may-
Councilwoman. I was
You're
going to
welcome.
say the same thing because over the summer, we had this conversation about
Enforcement?
scheduling with Department of Public Works, notifying the residents that on such and such a date, street cleaning would be available or would be coming to your area, and that your car would have to be moved. So at least they had notice.
Yeah,
And I don't know if that's happening also on
That's
Park
exactly
Drive.
the process that we followed this past round
Yes.
that we did in October and November, and we're going to look to refine that. We're also looking to hire parking enforcement officers
Yes.
who will be able to help with informing residents of oncoming street cleaning, as well as other events when they occur. So parking is a,
Problem?
well, parking is a challenge in many areas, and in some areas not at all. And it's something that we have to be sensitive to, and we are sensitive to.
Question, Mr. Gross. So Bethany Church parking that we had utilized, what's the status of that now? Is it still
It's
being-
available, it is underutilized, or at least the
Yes.
last time we checked, which was about 6 weeks ago, it was underutilized, so I'm going to say that it probably hasn't expanded past that.
I mean, this is also the same problem we had last winter with the snow. And it's a matter of enforcement and folks following the signage, like, abiding by the signage. So I think it's going to, if we get a lot of snow, we're going to have that same problem because we're seeing more and more vehicles. Again, there are some commercial vehicles that are sometimes out there, and you can call the police department if you see people not parking where they're supposed to be parking. I would say call in. Definitely call in, because we have to pick up on enforcement, or we're not going to clear this problem in certain challenged neighborhoods, especially down the downtown corridor, side streets.
Council President?
Councilman, yes.
Mr. Gross, can we prioritize leaf removal near the schools? We have multiple schools that have kiss and go or drop-off lanes in the morning, and some of them, it is getting very difficult to navigate the street because people are parking illegally in some cases, but it's for a short period of time. But with the leaves there and people trying to, get through, it's getting very difficult.
We certainly try to respond to hotspots. I will advise them in the morning. I'll find, to make sure that we do near the schools. It's this year was a particular challenge because leaves all came down at once.
Yeah.
And early, so it has slowed the process. I certainly am sensitive to the complaints that we receive and the information that we receive about where we may or may not have been, and we'll certainly talk to DPW about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a note. There was someone that spoke, MK Adams. If you do have an additional question, if you could send it to council, COUNCIL, @westorange.org, we will be able to answer your question. And the Zoom conversation, we're going to have pending matters. Okay. Madam Clerk?
I just want to remind everybody to speak into their microphone loudly, because we got some complaints after the last meeting that they couldn't hear certain people. So,
I wanted to say thank you to Anthony Puglisi for coming out. Thank you, Ant, for all of your information. And to Joe Fagan for your public information. There's your shout out. Thank you.
okay, review of the consent agenda, approval of minutes of previous meeting, November 22nd, 2022, public meeting and executive session.
Consent.
Report of township officers, none. Reading of petitions and communications and bids, none. Bills, are there any questions on the bills?
Consent.
Consent.
Resolutions, are any resolutions being pulled this evening?
Councilwoman Castellino?
I have an ordinance, not a resolution.
Okay. Councilwoman Matu Brown?
I do not have anything that I am pulling. Thank you, Council
Thank you.
President.
And we're looking at the revised agenda. Councilman Rutherford, no?
Nope.
Councilwoman?
I do,
Williams,
31422. If we can just flip to that really quickly.
This is a question
This
about
is
tree service?
This is a question, but it's also a numerical error in our calculations, which I just want to confirm does not impact the resolution. So on the back side, where we have the dollar value, Rich Tree Service was actually totaling 1,100, and Downs Tree Service totals 940 for their emergency rates.
Yeah.
Yes. So according to the resolution, we awarded it to Rich Tree Service because of pricing. And so we may need to update that resolution.
We'll have to go back to the original bids, and whichever one is the lower, if that's a concern, we can hold this resolution, pull the resolution.
So we'll pull this for now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. This won't impact anything.
We won't let it.
Okay. I apologize.
No, it should have, it's something that should have been caught.
That's it.
Thank
for
you,
me.
Councilwoman.
Everything else, all the other items, consent?
Everything else is consent.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda is implemented. Ordinances on second and final reading. Excuse me, 2700-22, bond ordinance providing for the installation of a sanitary sewage system and associated laterals located on Mellon Avenue between Cleveland Terrace and Kitchener Avenue, appropriating, excuse me, $285,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $271,400 bonds or notes of the township to finance the part of the cost thereof, and directing a portion of special assessment of the cost thereof. Is there a motion to introduce on second and final reading?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilman Rutherford?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Council President McCartney?
Yes.
Okay. This is the time for public comment.
On bar.
Any member on the Zoom, of the public on the Zoom audience who would like to provide public comment on ordinance 2700-22 only, please raise your hand at this time. Council President, seeing none.
Seeing none, thank you. So,
I
good.
have a question. For Mr.
Councilwoman
Rhodes.
Castellino? Yes.
Thank you. And I apologize, Mr. Rose, because I was on the phone with you earlier today. I forgot to ask you this question. So would this be the final project for this area? Is there paving and curbing that still needs to be done, or this will complete this?
There is work that is within this. There is additional work to be done. That's why we need the authorization for this, as well as some of it was done on an emergency basis. But there's still more to be done.
Okay.
This should cover the entire project.
And is that work, where's that budgeted? Is that in the?
That's here. That's what you're voting on tonight.
No, but I mean, is there anything else that needs to be approved for the project?
I'm sorry.
Is there any other funding for that project?
There's
that's
the original ordinance that we're amending. It's all of
The
the
whole
project
package.
in terms of the special assessment is within this ordinance.
Okay, but as far as separate street paving for that area, if the sewers are put in and whatnot.
You're talking about
that's-
outside of that?
Yes, yes. Is there
outside
anything
of
else
that
in that
zone?
area that has to be done?
That's totally separate. That would
Okay,
not be.
but that still needs to
That has
be-
nothing to do with this.
No, I know, but that still needs to be done, though. That's my question. Has that area I haven't had a chance to drive by there recently.
I will, if you're asking whether there's paving scheduled to be done.
Yeah,
I'll
that's-
have to
that's
check
what
on
I'm
that and
asking.
get you an answer.
Okay, great, thanks. You can let me know, thanks. Okay, thank you, Council President.
Anybody else have any comments?
Oh, not on that.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve 2700-22 on second and final reading?
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilman Rutherford?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Council President McCartney?
Yes.
Ordinances on first reading, 2702-22, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 7 Traffic, subsection 7-29.1, speed limits, general of the revised general ordinances of the Township of West Orange. Is there a motion to introduce on first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilman Rutherford?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Council President McCartney?
Yes.
2703-22 is being pulled from the agenda this evening by administration.
Okay.
2704-22, bond ordinance providing for various 2022 capital improvements by and in the Township of West Orange, appropriating $9,448,104, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $8,998,191 bonds or notes of the township to finance the part of the cost thereof. Is there a motion to introduce
So
on
moved.
first reading?
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
No.
Councilman Rutherford?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Council President McCartney?
Yes.
Okay. Pending matters, new matters, council
Oh.
discussion.
I have discussion on the ordinance.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry. So
That's
sorry.
okay. That's okay. So my question on this, and I appreciate my colleagues spending the time with Mr. Gross on this to get this to where we're trying to move it to. But there are two other projects that still haven't been discussed, and I know this is something I discussed with Mr. Gross earlier, that are extremely important to the township. One being the Abe Lando parking lot that our business owners desperately need to be reconfigured. That is not going to be in this ordinance. Also, the windows for our renovation project at 10 Roney Circle to fit out our new public library. That is not in this bond ordinance. So, I mean, it doesn't need to be now, but there needs to be a discussion by this council, because these are two big responsibilities that are, make our town function. So again, I just wanted to state that here tonight. It doesn't have to be discussed right now, but I just wanted to put that on record once again, because, being in the corridor, talking to our business owners, going to the conference, it's all about parking, parking, parking. Mr. Lepore went out before he left. There is a plan on the table, a short-term plan and a long-term plan that he had prepared for Mr. Gross. So, can't even entertain talking about it unless we know there's interest in trying to fund that. The TAP money will not fund that project, unfortunately, that with the grant money we have. Very minimal, if any, Mr. Lepore was looking into, but it's something that's going to have to be a capital unless we've been looking at other grants. But again, we have business owners there now. We can't wait for the larger redevelopment project to someday get done. We have to provide adequate parking in Torrey Corner. And that's all I have to say about that for this evening. Thank you to my colleagues for listening.
Thank you.
I would like to see the short-term and long-term plan that was proposed. I said I would like to see the short-term and long-term plan that was proposed, and are there estimated amounts that go with that?
No, we don't have cost estimates yet. We just have, we do have layouts that we've looked at it. And frankly, the difference between the short term and the long term is property acquisition.
Oh.
So.
I guess I have a question as it refers to 10 Rooney Circle and the windows. I know we talked about at one point just some general numbers, and we said to the tune of about $1 million for the window replacements.
It's actually about $1 million. The estimate's $1.5 million. We've actually or have an analysis going on, basically a needs analysis for the entire building. The windows will be included in that, as well as any, looking at the whole thing. One of the issues we have is that the grant that we received was focused solely on the needs of the library and not on the needs of the entire building. So we're filling in that gap. We have the architects looking at that, and we'll be getting us a report on all the systems, just to make sure that we touch all the bases so that we can look at what the needs are for that building. It's a primary building. We have a great tenant. We want to keep that tenant happy for a long, long time. Right now they are, and we intend to keep it that way. And taking good care of that building is an important part of it.
And just so you know what we're looking at too, there's also an elevator shaft that is not functioning as well.
So my question would be, are these items going to be resolved prior to the library being completely renovated to open?
They will not be done.
No.
It will not be done before the library is in. These are outside of the library area for the most part, not the windows per se. That's something we're going to have to deal with later on. But the other items we believe are outside of the that we're going to have to deal with would be outside of the footprint of the library. We'll see. I mean, obviously, when we get the report back, we'll know for sure.
So there's a lot to digest.
It is, but just looking at the capital budget and some of the items, we do have a tremendous amount of recreation funds appropriated, and I was wondering if the libraries would take priority over some of the recreational items, if we could perhaps substitute or switch.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, first off, it's a timing issue. We're not going to go out for contract for the library windows before the library is finished.
Okay.
In interior. So that it is definitely something that should be funded certainly next year once we get the report back. We're going to be coming back to you to talk about 2020. This is 2022 capital. Certainly, the 2023 capital is going to include requests for the library's needs, as well as all of our others. So that's really the time frame. I think that it's appropriate to look at it. It is, as we expect to be doing that early in 2023, not late in 2023. Just because the needs are that critical, and we need to get started. We need to do design. So there's a number of steps. So I don't know that switching it now is what that does is that puts many projects that have been promised to the public, would delay them or put them on hold, and we wouldn't be able to spend that money in that time frame anyway. So. We feel comfortable that this is to approach this, understanding that we're going to be back in 2023 talking about these other priorities as well.
Thank you.
Council President, if I may, thank you.
Matute Brown,
I
yes.
just for the public's information and for my council colleagues, since I spoke to Mr. Gross when we were supposed to get together to talk about how to initially streamline this capital improvement budget that initially was, correct me if I'm wrong, 14 million, 15 million?
Well, the total of three ordinances was 15.5 million.
So this is down now to below 9.95 million. And the reason why I said to Mr. Gross there's several reasons that I said to Mr. Gross that I wasn't supporting this. We've got, as you all know, I'm not sure how informed the public is, but we have so many outstanding budget items that are coming up in, yes, I know, 2023, 2024, including the assessment for next year, including the downtown redevelopment, just all of it. And in addition to that, principally, the fact that we still have outstanding back pay due to our first responders. I shared with Mr. Gross that it's my understanding that the stay that the township filed was denied. And correct me if I'm wrong again, please. if we are not compliant with civil service and in paying back what's owed to the back pay to our first responders, there's an additional fine of $10,000 per employee that is involved in this. Obviously not everyone, but I look at this budget and I see things in this particular budget, by the way, that this council has been asking for since long before it was due in March. And I get COVID, I get busy, I get all of it. However, here we are in December, and we're still looking at things like pool lighting in here, which to me, to Councilwoman Williams' point, as a priority, windows for the library would be a consideration. I just couldn't support this budget because while I do support all the park and recs and our first responders' vehicles that they so need as well, looking at this huge picture and not really being able to conceptualize what our next year's capital improvement needs are going to be. We have an idea because we have a notion of what we're looking at doing, but really a tangible number for me and seeing a different priority here, I could have supported it. But for those reasons I wanted to share with the public, I am not supporting the capital improvement budget.
Council President, if I may.
Thank you for your comment. Yes, Councilman Rutherford.
So I just wanted to state for the benefit of those that are paying attention, while the budget is $9.5 million, we're going to bond almost $9 million of that. And we are facing some difficult economic times. I think it is our responsibility as a council to approve these budgets. We have an obligation to, on an annual basis, approve both an operational and a capital budget, and this is a part of that. But for me, it wasn't as much controlling where the money went. Obviously, we can have some discussion about prioritizing projects, and we have had some. But I think overall, it was important to have a number that we could digest now, understanding what some of the expectations are to pay down debt next year. We certainly do have a good amount of both short and long-term debt, and our CFO and I had a lengthy discussion about how to approach this budget and future budgets in a way that allow us to chip away at that. I am encouraged by the information that he provided to me with regard to the timing of payments and when some of these bonds will have to be converted. And it does provide us some time to, allow the markets to kind of even out. And we do expect a tough 2 to 3 years. So for me, it was important that we had a number that I felt we could digest this year and still be in a position to pay down debt next year. So I'm grateful that the administration was able to do that. And I'm looking forward to any other assistance I can provide in helping to prioritize some of these projects, but also making sure that we walk into our next capital budget, which will be due shortly, with the same type of mindset and approach. That's really all I wanted to say. Thank you, Council
Councilman,
President.
thank you for that. And Councilwoman Matu Brown, I appreciate your comments as well. This is the budget for 2022, and we just got off of a campaign. A lot of this information right here has already been promised to the people. They were expecting this work to get done, and we held the departments up for quite a long time. We did also speak to both unions too. We heard the urgent need for their vehicles and equipment that they need. And I think I'm not going to tie it up. I think there is nothing more than we want to settle the contracts. I understand that. I'm not tying that into this capital budget. All right, appreciate your concern. Definitely is an issue we will have to deal with. But I know that this is equipment and projects. The library is very important to me, but it does seem premature if we put that out now. Let's wait for the reports to come. We would definitely look at that. And thank you for putting the Abe Lando parking lot back on the radar, because it has been an issue, underutilized, and can definitely be reconfigured.
Thank you.
But I am supporting this right now because of the work that needs to get done. Madam Clerk, ready?
Okay, next item is pending matters, new matters, council discussion, discussion regarding virtual council meetings.
Okay.
I don't know where you want to start with this, but I have had this conversation with our business administrator. I am in favor of continuing the Zoom meetings, at least for the next couple of months, to see, you know, I think Councilwoman Castellino made an excellent point at our last meeting about come January, we have 2 new council members that will join us, and you just witnessed all of the commissioners that were already here and have served. You will have appointments to those boards. They need to know what they're walking into. They need to know, you know, if it's Zoom or in person. There were a lot of people. Matt just moved that basket. It's full of pins for volunteers that were not able to attend. And a lot of them said, this is a crowded venue. They were not comfortable to come out yet. So it's not over. It's not over. I understand we are all here. We make the best of it. But there are quite a few people out there that are not able to attend and do want to participate, just as we heard from public comment today. I don't know what that time is going to be, but at least 3 months. We have to talk about the expense of that as well. I don't know, Mr. Ross, if you want to talk about the applications, you know, the legal parameters of that, or how we moderate the meetings.
Yeah, I brought this up at the last meeting, not to advocate in either direction, but frankly, to get it as a topic for discussion amongst the council to make a decision or at least an indicator of a direction. Because, you know, we've gone from a situation, and I'm repeating what we said at the last meeting, but where we were using COVID grant funds to pay for those expenses, and now in 2023, that's not going to be available to us. So it is something that if we're going to keep it in our program, if you will, then we have to budget for it. So it is certainly a topic that is new to be dealt with the council. So I wanted to spur that discussion. And so since the council is going to be facing that in its next budget, and that those expenses are going to start to roll in starting January 1st, and if I wanted the council to be aware of that and at least make some, if not a decision, certainly indicate some direction, so that the administration can respond and appropriately plan for what you want to do. And so you know, to the extent that some of the suggestions have been kicked around is about, you know, how we would do it if we would do it. If the council says this is what we're going to do, we'll figure out how to do it in the most economical way to do it, and the way. But really, the question is, from a programming point of view, is it a program that the council wants to continue? If so, we will. And if not, and if it's going to be limited as a period of time, then that's what we'll do. It's really a council decision / preference in terms of whether or not you're going to continue it, and to the extent that other boards and committees, whether you want them to continue it as well, and if not all, which ones eventually those decisions will have to be made.
So I think part of that conversation also depends on, out of the boards and commissions that we just saw this evening, which ones would need a moderator. Because most of them just set up a Zoom meeting and someone takes minutes. So it's not that every one of those 17 boards
my question.
would have to have a moderator or paid moderator. So
Yeah, I mean,
I think I know it's planning, zoning,
is
rent
exactly
leveling.
the point. I mean,
Most of them are advisory.
I mean, the decision-making board, I think you have a decision to make. Boards that have authority to make decisions probably should be considered the same as each other, and then you have advisory committees, which should all be treated the same, but not necessarily those two groups. Obviously, boards that have authority to make decisions, and such as the planning board and board of adjustment and rent leveling board and the like. They have a different standard to hit than an advisory board has. We certainly, we're not talking about the few $100s it costs us for a Zoom license or anything like that. We're talking about labor costs.
Yes.
Is the big cost when you have moderator, potentially that cost is significant. So as I told you, it's about per year about $5,000 per meeting, and that's, as much as that sounds like a lot of money to me, it's actually a pretty low amount compared to some of the quotes we got for that service.
And so you said $5,000 per meeting?
If you have one meeting a month, it's $5,000 for the year.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
And so if you have two meetings, like we have 2 meetings a month, for the council, it's about $10,000. And I mean, those are round numbers. They're not,
Sure.
that's not
Certainly. I would just encourage us to, certainly I wasn't here for the meeting discussion 2 weeks ago when it was brought up, but certainly I would definitely support continuing with the Zoom capacity. I think what is important is that we monitor the residents who participate on Zoom. And if we can just make sure that we are getting that participation, certainly wouldn't want to do what residents are suggesting, which is keep them out of the process. We want them to have access. And certainly COVID has taught us that we have to be agreeable and we have to pivot and do things differently. So it just may, I would certainly like to hear from my council colleagues, but certainly it's just something that we may have to continue to do to provide transparency and an ability for our residents to engage.
Well, when I initiated that, what I was going to say was that it would be for the next 3 months, maybe during winter, and that we revisit that come March. Councilwoman Castellano.
And I'm on the same page. I mean, my boards, Downtown Alliance and Public Relations Commission, they wanted to come back and meet. And so we've been meeting, and we also offer the Zoom option that we're not, that we have a moderator, but if someone wants to Zoom in, mainly because it is easier if you do have a busy lifestyle and you can't make the meeting, you may catch it, you may not physically get here. And that's great, but at the same time, as I said before, going to this seminar the other day, I'm a big proponent of getting back. Like, we eventually have to get back. We can offer the Zoom, but again, we need the pricing and written down so we could see what that looks like. So, I'm flexible. We have office spaces that are diminishing, not so bad in this township because we had the executive drive transaction, which really helped us. But the downtowns and other places are dying on a vine because they're not getting their people back to their buildings and people back to stores and restaurants. And, so it's all one big process. So I'm one for setting the example. We are here. We just had a crowded room this evening. Those are the choices we make to serve the public. And that's what you're doing when you're on these boards. You're serving the public. And I appreciate all who have health issues as well and want to serve. So again, it's a really touchy subject. I think we should stay the way we are for the next month or two, and then at the end of before the end of February, make another decision, have another conversation about it. But I know that doesn't help long term. For the other boards, maybe folks know that they may, it may pivot. Again, I don't know. We have 2 council folks coming on. They may feel different than me. I don't, the ones that are going to be here. So, I mean, that's my opinion. I would stay on Zoom the next couple months and then revisit it, but eventually encourage people to get back. And the transparency, you know, I have to say, you know, these are on YouTube tomorrow. So if you can't catch us tonight, you may be busy on Tuesday night, you're right on the computer and you're watching us tomorrow. And most folks are watching us, not really engaging. So again, and the ones that do engage, we do appreciate it. So I say we revisit it in 2 months.
Thank you. So I wanted to ask Joe Fagan. Joe, did you by any chance make a note of the number of people, not just our speakers, but the people that were in attendance?
Currently, there are 25 members of the public on. This evening at peak, we had 28. And we had 4 or 5 people engaged in public comment.
Right.
And the numbers, 25 to 28, are pretty typical of the Zoom audience at home.
Mm-hmm.
And just I'll point out for the cost factor is in as far as our meetings are concerned, since you're live, is about the interaction, because even if we weren't, we don't need a moderator in order to live stream. So our meetings could be live streamed without moderation, but then you would lose the instantaneous back and forth. So that's probably the critical number for you to look at in terms of, you know, the value, or I don't talk about the value, but the people that utilize the interactivity of it, and versus other, you know, the live streaming, which we would do anyway. So that's an important point. And in case of this council, keep in mind that the cost of the moderator is also in addition to the cost of the videographer.
Right.
So
right.
My only concern, and I think this is what is most important as well, or as important as well, is just giving anyone, including our existing appointments, you know, and our new appointments, giving them clarity on what expectations should be for their service. And I think with us saying we will revisit it in, you know, at least for the boards and the commissions, if they're under the impression that they're going to have Zoom capacity and serve, and that's what their mindset is and their commitment level to say yes, then we don't want to snatch that 3 months into their service. So I think at some point, you know, we're going to have to make a decision. I don't believe that with some of our other boards and commissions that it has to certainly not be a paid moderator, but not even a paid, you know, we have a township commission or access. The HRC uses a township Zoom login.
Yeah, but zoning and planning are different.
I think ultimately this really only, it becomes a question for
Zoning,
the decision-making boards, because the non-decision-making boards
Right.
can use the regular Zoom and they moderate
Absolutely.
themselves, and has nothing to do with creating a
Absolutely.
record. And with the decision-making board, you have
So
kind
we
of
have
two
planning
issues.
and
You've got
zoning.
the issue of the interactivity, but for instance, with at least one other board, it's about their interest in being in public themselves. That's a different factor in this, that is, you know, you have a group that at least there's hesitancy to coming back live, and so that is an additional factor.
It's also feasible. I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to interrupt, Council President, through you. You don't need a moderator for the purely advisory boards.
Right.
The truth of the matter is the Open Public Meetings Act doesn't apply to them as a matter of law. We use it, we apply it anyway, but we don't have to. You just don't need a moderator for those boards. They can still use Zoom, and people can participate remotely and listen remotely and so forth, but the only ones really that need a moderator, besides the council, are the planning board and the zoning board and the rent control board, assuming that continues. when they're having a hearing, it would probably require a moderator, but.
Right.
Well,
And only if that happens.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And for those that do, Council President, if they wanted a moderator, it doesn't have to be a paid position, and we can provide some level of training. It doesn't have to be, Joe Fagan or the folks that we've used. But I do think, to Councilwoman Williams' point, I am fully supportive of the Zoom, period. I think we've moved into a new normal. Things are never going back to the way that they were before COVID. And for those municipalities that are not at a place where they're willing to provide a virtual and in-person component to these types of meetings, I think they will be forced on them at some point in the future. This is the way of the world. I know, folks, we want to get them back downtown. All kinds of companies throughout the country are struggling with that right now, how to get people back in person. But there will be, we are not going back to where we were before COVID. I think we need to understand that and prepare for that and provide this virtual option.
Council President, certainly the courts have realized that. There's a lot of stuff now that's being done by Zoom. It's going to keep being done by Zoom or some other similar system. It's cheaper, it's more efficient, it just makes more sense. And the truth is, the world has changed as a result of COVID, and that we're not going to change back. Maybe the other changes going forward, but we're not going back the same way it was before. And I just have a question with respect to the mics, because I know somebody had said I couldn't be heard at the last meeting. I'm just curious, because this system is similar to what is used in the federal court system where I practice, and they also have the ability to have a clip-on mic that's basically, you can walk around and it'll amplify your voice any place you are in the courtroom. For those of us who like to roam around, that's a great thing. And I'm just curious to know if we've explored that, if we could use something like that here as well. Because I think the problem is that it's very hard to remember to get up close. And even when you get up close, some people can't be heard as well. I don't know why that is. It's just the way their voice projects. So it's something to think about.
We'll look at that.
That's been a problem forever. I mean, this room is acoustically not up to speed.
But then you sweat to death.
Yeah. It wasn't comfortable. Thank you. Okay. Oh, what was the other conversation? I had made the note about the financial disclosure. Was that a conversation that we're
I
going to have?
think we had that already. We just looked at the
Okay.
names.
You had mentioned that you wanted to talk about
Well, I
that.
just wanted to say that this is some of the names on that list, they're volunteers, and now they're going to be,
So-
fined.
So let's talk a little bit about that. All of your volunteers are required to do it. It's a law. Well,
But a lot, not all. But a lot of them are.
Yes.
There's certain ones that are.
And
And
to
and I
that
have to
point,
say-
most of them have
Right, but
completed
but I
it.
also have to say that I send out
You do.
many
Reminders.
reminders. Many.
so they're required
I
by
know.
law, and there's nothing there. Whatever remedies that the state has, they have, and whether they're what they do about someone who does not pay the fine is nothing that this council can have any impact on. The state has now referred it to you for you to determine if you believe there is any additional action to be taken. And it's from what I read into it and what I know about it, it is completely up to the council to make that determination of what, if anything, you'd like to do about that fact.
Well,
And
they
that
certainly
becomes-
should be required to become compliant if they're going to continue to serve in their capacity. So I think that would be something that we would mandate right off the bat, that if you're going to cost us money, then we're not going to continue to allow you to serve in your capacity.
Well, the fines don't go to us.
Yeah, we don't pay those.
They're
They
not our
pay
fines.
them.
That was the point I was making. They're
So
volunteers
the
and they have
fines
to
go
pay.
to the actual
Because-
volunteer?
Yes.
Correct.
Because they did not
But I
apply.
mean, but at the end of the day, still,
Well, I'm not arguing your point. I just wanted to be,
their
to be clear.
Yeah.
It's not the township that is paying that.
Oh, okay, so that's clear.
The individual, and again, I don't know how the state is going to how the state is going to enforce that. I mean,
It doesn't seem like they
I could
would.
imagine, for instance, traffic stop, somebody comes up and their license ends up being temporarily suspended because they didn't.
I would be shocked if they do that.
I would not.
Wow.
I would not be shocked.
That's hostile.
I would say, since we are having this conversation now and we're all thinking about the new appointments everyone's going to make, maybe this may be the very top thing you say, because some people may not fill it out because obviously this is public information. You Google someone, you'll see home address, financial information. They might not want it. So that should be something that we tell. This is the first time I've seen something like this.
They just last year they've threatened.
So much for
to do it in the
encouraging
past.
people to volunteer.
And it's been in the statutes forever, but they've never done it until last year. Now the question will be,
will they
do it
continue?
again?
Yeah, will they continue?
I guess we'll see.
I have
But
a
again,
question. And then
gonna
for the
say,
municipal
once you start
clerk.
collecting money, you normally don't stop. So that.
So I have a question for the municipal clerk. So when you are sending out the email that this financial disclosure is due, do you have a receipt that says, like, who you sent it to, and maybe they did have trouble, like Councilwoman Castellino had?
I get a lot of phone calls if they have
You would
trouble,
get a lot
and
of
I
phone
would
calls.
assist them. But I never see what they file.
Right.
And
And that's
but I
automatically
have
submitted.
or I don't know what you call it, a program you go into, and I can see who's an active member of a board or commission, and then I can see whether or not they have filed. And then, obviously, the list gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and then I continue to email them, and I continue to tell them that there is a chance that you will be fined.
Oh, okay.
Now, because for years, it's a threat, it's like an idle threat, nothing ever happened, but they did get fined this year. But they were told that, so.
Council
There were,
President,
I'm sorry,
just
Ken.
so you know, I'm working on an ethics checklist for the town, which I hope will be ready before next week. And I am going to be sending some excerpts from cases, a copy of that checklist, and also the state ethics law, the statute that we're talking about here, to everybody, so that they're generally aware.
Okay.
And I just want you to know, there were a couple of people that did have issues. They did appeal, and they won their appeals.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great,
because
great,
they were,
great.
All
right.
Yeah, the financial, they were told.
but perhaps part of this is at the reorganization meeting, it should be a topic at the reorganization that this is a requirement, that they're required to do it, and inform them from the very beginning.
Is there an
that's
intent?
it's required.
Is there an intent to do training for all of our board appointments and commissioners in 2023, so that even the new
Yeah, we did that a
appointees
while
will
ago.
have an understanding of what their roles and responsibilities will be?
You did that in 2015 or 16
So
with all
can
the
we-
commissions, remember that? I
Right,
think
we
should
at
do
least
that
need to
again.
have the chairs come in so that the new appointed chairs, so that they understand what their roles and
I think that's what I'm
responsibilities are.
suggesting.
That was
is
on Open Public
there
Meetings
we
Act.
may standardize some of the processes
Okay.
to make sure that the information gets down to the volunteer level.
All right, thank you. All right, so move to adjourn.
Are we done? Okay, so is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to
So
adjourn.
moved.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
It's not even 9 o'clock.
Any opposed? Okay, the meeting is adjourned, and
Wow.
it's
Good night, West Orange.
8:43.
Wow.
everybody.
Good night, all.
Good night, West Orange. Thank you all for joining us.